Okay, this video is gonna be for, I guess, people who are doing the runaway lay low till 18 thing, people who are under some umbrella of homelessness, even people with houses in quote-unquote functional society. So, one thing I'll say off the bat is that even people who are spiritually minded and who are carnal know that a whole bunch of stuff is about to start going downhill in the world because of political stuff and the war in the quote-unquote Middle East, with the Europeans running around Africa pretending to be the people. So they already know that's about to become a global issue. Well, I mean, people are trying to pretend it won't. Some know it will. But either way, even people who are carnal-minded know something is coming. These are people who don't believe that, pestilence will come, don't believe in the tribulation, none of that. But even those types of people are stocking up and preparing. Like, even people who still have faith in jobs and the government and the systems and material things for whatever reason call themselves quote-unquote preppers, which of course people like that, when things really hit the fan, they're not going to make it anyway. But still, the point stands. People know things are going downhill. And instead of doing the things that people always do about any and everything, and lying to yourself about reality, and being in denial and calling everything a conspiracy theory, you might as well just go ahead and prepare now. Honestly, you should have been preparing years ago. But, I mean, of course, really, regardless of what you have, it's good to go ahead and start going through self-deliverance, or maybe deliverance with somebody else, but self-deliverance and fasting and praying. That's the best way to start off. Working on your health, like I've been trying to do, because spiritual and physical health, and of course spiritual and mental health, that goes hand in hand. That's going to be really important. If you're not able to walk for 5 minutes, then you're going to be in for a rude awakening. And what else was I going to say? I don't know. So yeah, start preparing. Now, me personally, I have always been into outdoors and natural living. Although, of course, the situation I'm in now, it wasn't a choice, but I mean, I kind of always saw myself camping or living outside one day, to be completely honest. Not exactly how I am now, but I don't know though. I mean, I remember I used to have maladaptive daydreams about finally getting out of my situation that I was in. Even before it got to the point where I started going through Cash for Kids system abuse, I always saw myself getting out of there around the time where the world really gets to a bad point and starts coming to an end, even more coming closer to an end. So I always saw myself getting out before things really, really hit the fan. It's just funny though, now looking back on the fact that I used to have maladaptive daydreams like that when I was a lot younger. But yeah, so what was I saying? I don't even know. The usual. Wait a minute. Okay, I remember now. So I've always been into those documentaries or shows where they're living in Alaska in the woods. I didn't really like that weird One Naked and Afraid, but there was that. For whatever reason, it existed, but it was there. I liked Oak Island when I was younger, although it doesn't have much to do with living outdoors, but I just like that it has something to do with the outdoors. And A lot of people like Duck Dynasty until they started exposing themselves more and more. But yeah, so I've always liked bushcraft type stuff or just the outdoors, and I wasn't in the situation previously to like really completely learn wilderness survival or like bushcraft, but I am now, and that's what I have to work on now. And my point of this video is this is what everybody should be learning. Literally everybody. If you're already under some branch of homelessness, because of course homelessness is really an umbrella term now that's used on anybody who isn't like being beat down and a slave to the system. So if you're homesteading, I mean, even if you're legally homesteading, people want to call that homeless these days, but if you're homesteading, van life, nomad, vagabond, off-gridder, houseless traveler, that's a term people are using now. Straight up homeless. If you're already out here, I don't really understand why you aren't trying to learn these things and why you didn't a long time ago. Because like I already said, when it comes to like the typical homeless, like the really like traumatized, messed up, don't really know what to do to get out the situation. Honestly, this is the worst time to become homeless if you're trying to not be and you're trying to like live in modern housing. Because honestly, if you become homeless now and you don't have anybody, just know you're stuck. Another reason that you might as well just learn the things that you need to learn so that way you'll be prepared for what's about to start happening. But yeah, typical homeless, like I went over before, commonly become homeless by themselves at first, somewhere from age 7 to 16. Now I know that like when you can't get money, you can't work, and you're spending your time hiding from the police, not even because you're a missing person, but just because you don't want to get thrown into the cash for kids system. Focusing on anything other than hiding and surviving can be hard, but I feel like if you've already been out here a long time, or you're somebody who's kicked out or doing the lay low till 18 thing, or escaping from some part of the cash for kids system or something, you should really start learning this stuff, because it's going to be really important. And if you're like a grown adult and you're out here, you're about to be out here, you've been out here, you should start learning the wilderness survival and bushcraft. So a list, fishing, that's really important. Although if you're not like near anywhere with fish, hunting, I mean, well, you need to learn hunting anyway, so let me just say hunting, gardening, growing edible plants, fruits, vegetables, and even like other edible plants, like even flowers, dandelions. I think it's said when those are edible. Like I know this, well, not I know, but I know of this one girl who did the lay low till 18 thing to escape her abuse situation, and she spent her time reading books, which of course that's a good thing to do. If you're doing, well, honestly, regardless of what your situation is, you should spend time reading and learning, but learning real stuff, not indoctrination. She spent her time laying low, reading books about foraging and other things like that. So she's also, I think, vegetarian. I don't think she's vegan. She's vegetarian. So she knows what's what and what she can eat and what she can and can't eat when it comes to mushrooms, flowers, other plants. That's what you should be learning. You should be getting books on foraging. Make sure you get a book about foraging that actually is for your region, don't like get some book that's for the East Coast if you live on the West Coast. If you're going to be traveling, maybe get a couple. Well, you should get a couple anyway. But make sure you don't get like too much of anything though, because something that people don't take into consideration, especially if you've never been like homeless or something close to that before, people don't take into consideration that when you're doing all this prepping in a real crap hits the fan situation, you're not going to be able to shelter in place in a house or an apartment, especially if you don't already have one of those. So the stuff that's really important, you need to have like bags or something for that, and you have to actually be able to carry it somewhere if you need to go somewhere. What will really be ideal is already having like some gas stocked up and having a van or some big car that runs on gas. But of course, when things really get bad, you're not really going to be allowed to go anywhere either. But let's just say before things get to that point where you're secretly moving around, that's what you should also keep in mind. You want to get like a couple good books, but you don't want to be trying to like stock up on hundreds of books about the same thing. You don't want to have hundreds of anything because you're just not going to be able to carry all that around. And what else was it? Oh yeah, shelter building. So, me personally, I already have a video that I kind of didn't really want to put out, but I thought that maybe it'd be kind of good to talk about anyway, but I don't like how it turned out, which is why I've had to retry it so many times. But anyway, the point of me going to Job Corps wasn't just because I wanted to like learn construction type stuff, even though like due to my health that's kind of hard for me because I can't lift jack, which is why I'm trying to like fix my health situation, and I've been taking like the digestive enzymes and stuff so I can start being able to digest food again and get my health back together so I can actually like lift stuff and do everyday things again, which is going to be needed regardless of what. But I did that, tried that anyway, because I also knew that in future situations, it's good to know how to like use tools, more so tools that don't require electricity, but to use tools and like build shelter. Now, of course, construction is more like about modern house building that could take a couple of people instead of like building like a natural shelter that could really last, like I don't know, log cabin or I mean mud huts are good, but of course you're not gonna learn that there's something like that. You're not gonna learn how to do that, obviously. I doubt you even learned anything like that in sustainable or green building, which I've been trying to take a class on that too. Cause well, I mean, as you know, the Job Corps thing went left, so that I didn't even get to finish that. So now I've been like doing something better, to be honest. But I want to take a green building class and sustainable building, but I know that that's really going to be fueled by like some indoctrination type stuff, but I feel like maybe it'll be kind of helpful for the things that I need to know. But you know, they want everybody living in these tiny tech apartment prisons, but if they're really worried about like something being quote unquote green or sustainable, we would all just go back to living in mud huts, because that's the most sustainable things can get. I mean, a tech apartment is far from sustainable, but I mean, people fall for anything. I don't even get it. But yeah, I still want to take it anyway, though, because even though, of course, it's not going to be exactly what you need to know, it still gives you some good info. Like, I mean, learning how to use a saw or hammer or screws or nails. That's really important, honestly. What really, really would last, though, that I learned is about the different joints in building. So, like, basically, let's say you don't have, like, nails. You may need to cut a piece of wood to where another piece of wood could just slide in there. So something like that. That's something that would be really important. I mean, you still need an axe at least. So you definitely need that. But yeah, building shelter, that's going to be one of the number one important things. Shelter and food are really keeping in body heat and not getting wet. Because, I mean, if you get wet, you can't keep in body heat anyway. Not getting attacked by somebody or some animal. But the thing is, people are really what you have to worry about. You have to worry about people. Animals, not so much. It may depend on where you are, at least. Like, maybe if you're going to get attacked by, like, a bear or a lion's going to bite your face off. There are lions out here. There's mountain lions. Or maybe, like, a kangaroo's going to come punch you in the face. There's that. But you really got to worry about people more. It kind of depends, though. I personally really try to pick camp spots that are far away from people. That's kind of hard to do here, though. But that's also hard to do when your health is messed up, which is why you should really start working on your health now. And if you don't really know what's going on, maybe, like, be careful, but do some, like, trials on different natural treatment methods that you could do yourself, and stretching, exercise. And that's what I've been doing for my back, at least. Because stretching and exercising is supposed to help with that. Because I messed my back up on the hill some months back, so that's kind of a side thing to the issues I already had. I still feel mad at myself about that. I wish I wouldn't have even did that. Wish I wouldn't have slept on that hill. But it happened now. But yeah, so you want to get some tools. What I would advise is getting a fire starter, like one that can last long. I don't mean matches. I mean waterproof matches maybe, but I really don't even mean that. I mean like one of those flint and steels, or I think it's this other type that's metal, but I don't really know. So one of those. I mean, just still have some lighters for just in case. Know how to start a fire. I'm still trying to get my fire skills together. Like, I really didn't know that it was as hard as it is to get a stick to catch fire to try to cook something. So maybe get some lighter fluid. It gives like a chemical taste to food. I really didn't want to do it, but I still have it for just in case. But I still want to learn how to start a fire anyway, of course. And actually keep it going, because you're going to need that for warmth and for like cooking. Oh yeah, know how to purify water from the ocean and just from wherever else. That's really important. So you may want to go ahead and like have some activated charcoal, and you can use a pillowcase. You could use, what are those things called? Coffee filters, or a pillowcase, or both. You still need the charcoal, and of course you would still need to boil the water, but you have to like run it through the charcoal or the sand mixture or whatever you have a couple times, and then boil it. For the ocean water, salt water anyway, I mean in general, you still need to purify it. For salt water, I see that there's this thing you can do where like you put it in one bottle and connect it to the end of another bottle, and you have to like set it up to where you can boil it, but you do that and then a small amount of purified waters on the other end. But I feel like that would need to be ran through some charcoal too, to be honest. So you probably want like some big glass bottles or jars or something, I feel anyway, because in the video I seen, that would take a really, really long time to get to a gallon. And the bottle was already small, so like if he would have like boiled more water than he did, I don't know. That seemed pretty hard, but yeah. You also want a life straw. But keep in mind, I mean, the life straw is for like if you want to drink some water like fresh out a creek, but you still need to know how to purify water. Then, how to cut game, clean out fish or an animal that you hunted. That's actually kind of like, it's more simple than the other things. I'll say that. You know, you take out the intestines, don't eat the heart, don't eat pig feet, don't eat tongues and eyeballs or testicles, none of that stuff. People do that, but don't do that. I wouldn't. Don't eat, what are they called? Chitterlings? I've heard them called a couple things. Don't do that. Never do that. Oh yeah. Use the bathroom in a hole. Cause when like there's no more trash keeping, that, well, technically you're not supposed to like put feces in the trash can anyway, supposedly, but I don't know, I guess at least maybe not human because there's more toxins in it, but when things really hit the fan, there's not going to be any dumpster trash upkeeping. So you need to like know how to make your own natural bathroom. Learn how to make compost. Maybe even learn how to make charcoal. Maybe know how to make a generator, but that kind of depends on the situation. I personally feel like you should really get prepared to know how to do things without electricity. I mean, that's the life I'd rather live anyway, to be honest. And, trying to think if there's anything else to say. Definitely, though, if possible, go ahead and stock up on some food that's already, like, made or not made, just non-perishables. Maybe get, like, some sardines, some canned soup, beans, rice, beef jerky, definitely beef jerky, and maybe not Slim Jims, but beef sticks. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say. Oh yeah, get some books though. Right now I have a foraging book that I'm struggling to read all my books, to be honest. I don't know why though. I don't really do anything else, but I just think a lot and kind of makes it hard for me to do other things I need to do sometimes. But foraging books, kind of already talked about that. Off-grid, no-grid, wilderness survival books, bushcraft books, cabin building books. Oh yeah, if possible, take a first aid class somewhere. Doesn't even matter where. Just take one. Make sure you have a first aid kit though already. You really want a bug out bag, but don't get the stupid bug out bag. Get like a good one. Get one with like a shovel, or just get your own shovel and axe and hammer and other things that you need. Don't get something with a whole bunch of bull crap that you really probably wouldn't need. Honestly, really try not to get hurt in the first place. Thinking, what other books? Oh yeah, I got this wilderness first aid book. Then I think I have a regular first aid book. I got some bullcrap book that was supposed to be about Dr. Sebi's alkaline diet. That didn't really have anything to do with like the things that are about to happen and preparing for that. I just got that, but I kind of regret that. But having a book about herbal healing, that's still good though. Not really what this book was about. Wish it was. Books off Amazon are kind of whatever. Honestly, books these days in general are kind of whatever. They have so many typos too. And I think that was it. Because I got the foraging book, the alkaline, the first aid, and the off-grid survival. So yeah, I got those. Yeah, so if you're already out here where you've been living in the woods since you were 5 or something, you might as well go ahead and start learning the things you need to learn. And if you're somebody who's struggling right now because of all the agendas being pushed to push out the middle class and the dollar falling and all that, just stop worrying about the matrix and materialism and do understand that it is possible to survive without all that. And that's another thing. People are falling apart and getting depressed and suicidal because people are so used to this modernized living and living in the systems and living to work a job and to have fake friends and all that. They don't really think there is anything else. Like, I know somebody who's somewhat technically been homeless since they were like 17, and they did used to live like in the mountains, but they were somewhat rich at one point in their life. And of course, they went through a whole bunch of trauma, which is part of why they ended up, well, not homeless. They didn't consider themselves homeless. Honestly, it really was being homeless. A lot of people would even still consider their current situation homeless, even though they're like working a job and paying rent, but they're still living in a shed with no electricity really, or no air, no nothing. But they spent years couch surfing and all that, and they were doing pretty good for themselves though. Looks like they mostly did woofing work, which is when you work on some random person's farm, pretty much. And they're struggling, and they've been struggling and just trying to like power through life. And what they're trying to do right now is just act like things are gonna get better in the world, and like they're just gonna be able to work some job even while the systems are beating them down, and that they're just like things are gonna go back to normal, and they're gonna almost have a somewhat similar life to when they were somewhere rich, and they're gonna be able to rub it in people's faces and not have people that talk junk about them anymore, even though these people have been talking junk about them since high school, but they're almost 30. But yeah. And so what I say to this person, what I had to say to people who are having thoughts like this, for one, please stop caring about what people are saying about you that obviously don't give a crap about you anyway. These people want you to be suicidal and depressed, or even dead, and just stop caring. You just have to let a lot of things go, to be honest. Let a lot of things go. Especially when it comes to people's expectations, random people and people's expectations who are people you know, if I said that right. And another thing is, just go with the flow, accept your current situation, and just learn how to build a cabin off-grid somewhere and live happily and peacefully. Also, do know that there's happiness outside of these systems. Like, a lot of people, they don't even know how to be happy without faking being happy on social media and posting pictures. of all the different people that they're dating and all the shoes that they're getting. They don't know how to be happy without that. But that's what's making them depressed. So that's all I have to say right now. Also, if you're doing the runaway lay low till 18 thing or you're kicked out, do know that the anti-homeless laws, the Newsom and whatever it's called, that's going to make it even harder for you to lay low till 18 or till whenever. What else had to say about it? So definitely avoid city areas for one. And like I always say, you should never ever be camping in the city. You should never really be sleeping on the sidewalk. You should always try to camp somewhere isolated in the woods. Never go to cities in general, especially if you're already alone and don't have anybody really. Or if you're doing the lay low till 18 thing, definitely don't even spend your time in cities. The girl I mentioned earlier who learned foraging, all of her weird sexual experiences of people following her and trying to kidnap her happened in big cities. Which, that's another thing though, and I think I mentioned this in some other video. If you're the type of person that thinks everything is a conspiracy theory, and you think trafficking is a conspiracy theory, you you really shouldn't even run away anyway. But depending on what type of situation you're in, like if you're escaping trafficking yourself, then, I mean, you've already lived in what most people think is a quote-unquote conspiracy, so you know better. But the other people, just don't even do it. Too much stuff is about to start happening anyway. So if you're that naive, then just don't. But yeah, if you're doing the lay low till 18 thing, do know laying low is going to be even harder because they're cracking down on homelessness, which means the police are looking for you even more. And that's another reason for them to try to charge you and lock you up, which they're already going to try to do anyway. And then that's it.